My 30-day ground beef challenge has come to an end. It's time for the results. Hey everybody, welcome back to Carnivore Quest. Larry here. Good to see y'all. Glad you stopped by for a few minutes. Like I said in the intro, I got some results for you. This has been a strange month, man. Those of you who have been following along know I ran into some difficulties about a week and a half ago, and I got a couple updates for you. But first, I want to thank the sponsor of today's video, Elements. Elements electrolytes come in these convenient single serving packets. Each one contains 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, and 60 milligrams of magnesium. Every morning during my ground beef challenge, I used one packet of Elements raw unflavored in my black coffee. And occasionally with one of my meals, I enjoy a delicious can of Elements sparkling. Those of you who have recently started a carnivore diet might be noticing you're urinating a lot, maybe 5 to 10 times a day. And that's because when we're not consuming carbohydrates, your body releases all that extra water it's been holding on to. Elements science-backed formula will keep those brutal headaches and dreaded muscle cramps away, all while keeping you hydrated and feeling great. As always, Elements offering our viewers a free sample pack with any order. That's 8 free single serving packets with any Element order. This is a great way to try 8 of Elements delicious flavors before your next order. You can have Elements and your free sample pack delivered right to your home using our link below at drinkelement.com/carnivore quest. This is absolutely the best way to get the quality electrolytes you guys need and support our channel at the same time. So head on down to drinkelement.com/carnivore quest and get yours today. And Elements customer service is awesome. For any reason you're not 100% satisfied, you keep the product and receive a full refund. Thanks Element for sponsoring today's video. And I want to take a quick moment and thank each and every one of you who have used our Carnivore Quest link for your Elements. It's a big deal to Cassie and I. Thank you very much. So Larry, how much weight did you lose eating only ground beef for the month of April? Well, we'll get to that. But first of all, most of you know who have been, following along that I did not eat ground beef for the entire month. Maybe a week and a half ago now, I developed some sores with my dentures from eating that beef jerky when Cassie and I went on our mini vacation. My dentures were rocking and I developed a pretty bad sore. So I had to leave my teeth out for a little while. I was, eating a lot of scrambled eggs. Let's just put it that way. And as always, I got to be completely honest with you guys. After eating those eggs and that sore, healed up, got my dentures adjusted, I did not go back to eating ground beef. I was over it, so I made it 20 days with ground beef only. It's kind of funny, when I attempted that 30-day water fast, I made it 21 days and then I called it quits. And I made it about the same amount of time with this ground beef challenge. So maybe from now on, whenever I do a challenge, I'll just make it 3 weeks, because that seems like as far as I can go. I don't know. In January, I did do the BBBE challenge and I stuck to that all month and I lost 20 pounds. Which was awesome. But I am happy to say I did not go off the rails, once I stopped eating the ground beef. I stuck to carnivore, and I actually got a list here because I kept track of what I ate and I took some pictures. I had wings 3 different times. I went over to my daughter Holly's to see our granddaughter, and Holly made me some wings in the air fryer, sauced up with butter and hot sauce. Absolutely delicious. When I came home, I made it a few more times over the next couple days. And I did have a little blue cheese. Not much, though. I didn't overdo it, to dip the wings in. I had 4 chaffle sandwiches, and I did use cheese in the chaffles. I had a couple sandwiches made with chuck roast, and I had a couple tuna sandwiches, and they were delicious. I had shrimp and butter one night. And I had air fryer chicken thighs 3 times. That's probably my favorite way to have chicken thighs, just because it's so convenient. I mean, of course, they're delicious on the grill. Cassie and I both love them, but they're just so convenient in the air fryer, so quick, so easy. I also had 2 ribeyes and 3 thick pork chops that I made in the air fryer too. And then there's one more thing I had that you might consider a failure. For those of you who have been following along for a while, when I was editing our latest top 10 countdown that came out like 3 days ago, I put like 32 hours into that video. And this Italian thunderbolt is my wife, Cassie.
They're gonna make you eat. Are you hungry?
Usually, Cassie sounds like this.
I'll briefly run down all the health improvements I've experienced eating an animal-based diet.
But if you catch her in the kitchen, you never know what you're gonna get.
Hey, we got this chuck roast for you. You're gonna eat, manja.
Today, I'll be counting down the top 10 carnivore diet recipe videos in the world. And every day I would sit down right after lunchtime and start my work day. And I start editing at 1 p.m. Well, I ran up and I got a latte at Starbucks, 20-ouncer made with heavy cream. And I got that 4 days in a row while I worked on that video. So, yeah, I mean, you could consider that a failure, but it is what it is. It was a choice I made and I enjoyed them. I didn't overdo it. I didn't go get another one the same day, but it was nice to have that latte, during all that editing time. And I got to tell you, I don't know if I'm going to be doing any more of those top 10 countdowns anytime soon. Video's got 3,000 views right now. To put all that time into it, you know what I mean? And to only get 3,000 views, which is still a lot of people who saw the video, but, the video I put out before that, about the email that we received, from an old enemy, that video got like 15,000 views and it took me like an hour to produce it, but I am proud of the top 10 countdown video. It was all of Cassie's best recipe videos. That was the top 10 countdown. I thought it would do a little better. Sometimes YouTube just doesn't push it out to people, and that's just part of the game, right? And speaking of that video, we actually got a comment from Alien Ant Farm. This was on the top 10 countdown video. It says, is there going to be a I quit the ground beef challenge video? I mean, I was doing it with you, shake my head. I feel like this is all so you can get YouTube checks. I think he meant to say clicks. And I apologize to you, my friend. No, I didn't do the challenge for clicks. The reason I did the challenge was to get rid of the rest of the cravings I was having. And I wasn't having many, but I got to tell you, it really worked. I'm even thinking about going back to DoorDashing because I'm not craving standard American diet crap food, which is a huge victory on the carnivore diet. It's one of the main things that's great about it. I started out this year with the BBBE challenge, and then I kind of did dirty-ish carnivore during February and March. Not too bad, but my weight loss, fluctuated, 4 pounds. I'd go up and down. And yeah, I'm definitely not where I thought I would have been 4 months into the new year, but I didn't gain weight. And that's what Cassie keeps telling me to focus on, and, there's a price to pay for the decisions you make. My weight loss for the ground beef challenge was 4 pounds, and I guarantee you it would have been closer to 10 pounds if I hadn't loosened up this last week and had those lattes, all the cheese and the chaffles. That's a choice I made and I got to live with the consequences, But overall, I'm feeling great. Attitude is still awesome. No depression. So, I'm very thankful for that. But as far as this comment goes, I never asked anybody to do the challenge with me. And I hope you guys were successful with it. It's not an easy challenge to just eat ground beef all month. I don't know. Once I tasted those eggs, something other than ground beef, I was like, okay. There's so many options on the carnivore diet that are healthy and you're still going to lose weight. For me, I have to stay away from those lattes and I got to cut cheese out of my diet. But I wasn't picking out on cheese every day, but those chaffles, I had some. And I'm trying to think if I had any other cheese. No, it was just in those chaffles, but one chaffle is a cup of cheese, so it's not like it's, a tiny bit. Anyway, that's my update as far as the ground beef challenge goes. 4 pounds for the month. Total, I'm down 23 pounds since the beginning of the year. Like I said, I'm not quite where I want to be. But, I always got Cassie rooting me on, and, she's just like, you're not gaining weight, And because I get discouraged. I want to do good for you guys and encourage you because, results vary. But I'm telling you, results depend on how strict you are. At least for me, if I am super strict and I don't, deviate at all, and I just eat protein and fat, the weight flies off. But it's when I start deviating, adding a few things in here and there, it's when I stall out or just lose a little. But it's not like eating the standard American diet crap food, like when I go off the rails and I'm eating fast food and I put on 60 pounds. So I am thankful for that. That hasn't happened. But I appreciate all of you who did do the WED, watched every day I put out a video. I vlogged quite a bit in the beginning of the month. Yeah, I had fun with it. And Cassie wanted me to let you all know that you'll be seeing more of her next month. She's in a groove now with her job, and she's dusted off the cobwebs. Even after she started dealing again, she'd still come home and I'd help her practice, so she really didn't have a whole lot of time for content. And plus the grandbaby, that little Charlotte's been, eating up a lot of her time being a grandma, which she's loving. And Cassie and I got something huge going on this week in our personal life. We'll probably share that with you guys. Yeah, something that we haven't experienced in over 20 years is finally happening again. So I'll get her on here with me and we'll tell you guys about that. For those of you who are disappointed, like that person who left the comment, Alien Ant Farm, disappointed in me about not completing the challenge, I'm sorry. I'm only human. I am not perfect. There are a ton of carnivore diet channels on YouTube who are perfect. You can very easily unsubscribe from us and go hang out with them. But I promise you, there's not a channel here on YouTube that's more honest with you. What you see is what you get. And we love you guys. So we'll see you in the next one. Remember, no sugar, no carbs, and no cheating. Later.